for truth.
Welcome to Duality Check, the podcast where two brothers embark on a journey through the realms of scientific inquiry, the mysteries of the past, and the uncharted frontiers of spirituality. Join us as we explore the wonders of our world and beyond, all while embracing the roles of curious bystanders rather than experts. Together we'll unravel the tapestry of existence, blending the dichotomies of knowledge and wonder. Get ready to question, ponder, and delve into the dualities that shape our understanding of reality on Duality Check. I'm Drew.
And I'm Dean, and welcome to episode number 64.
Yeah.
And I should probably start this off with an apology for the week delay.
Yeah.
That totally falls on me. I got sick, and I did not want to get out of bed and edit that podcast.
All good. I think we deserved a little break there, but it was needed.
Yeah.
Because we've had those sick podcasts before where we're just struggling through them.
Yeah, so pardon if you can still hear it in my voice. There might be a little more coughing from me than normal, but yeah.
Episode 64.
We've got a kind of a smorgasbord of different things we've brought here.
Got a ton of clips and links that we're going to click on and talk about. But maybe we start with our weekly Bashar. Just get us going a bit.
All right, Mr. Bashar. What have we?
Enlightenment.
One moment. What happened to good day and hello?
Good day and hello.
Thank you.
This is my first time hearing you in person.
Oh, all right. It is our first time hearing you as well. Enlightenment, in the most simplest possible way I can state it, is simply the willingness to lighten up. All you have to do is lighten up on yourself, raise your frequency by doing so, and you will have a broader perspective that allows you to see that everything is connected, that everything is one. And it is fundamentally, to answer your question in the most direct way possible, fundamentally this attribute, the ability to recognize everything as one and apply that recognition in your life that constitutes the experience most people on your planet refer to as enlightenment. Does that answer your question?
Very well. Thank you.
Thank you.
What is enlightenment?
I love his little mannerisms.
Yeah, he's such a character. Cool. So, by that definition, I experienced enlightenment on DMT.
Yeah.
But not by his last definition, which is to apply that understanding to your life. So I'm learning to do that still.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's an important caveat too, right?
Yeah.
Understanding and being willing to like accept that everything is one, and then applying that in the sense of like every moment, every interaction is understanding that this is all happening.
Well, understanding that everything is one means that you keep that in perspective when you get upset about something. You get upset at someone when you
every interaction
doesn't go your way. When you deal with the creatures in nature. When you deal with
yourself,
right?
And when you're by yourself,
right.
Yeah, understanding that you can like you said, to start it off, lighten up on yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Don't put so much pressure on yourself to be perfect or be like fully understanding of everything. Like everything is happening. You don't have to control every aspect of every part of whatever it is that you're, interacting with.
I think the lightening up part is like the most permanent effect I've carried. But the acting, like taking into all your action that everything is one, that is one that I think all of us will have ways that we can continue to improve on how we approach the world and situations. And
I do think that as like profound as it sounds, it does sound like something that, like when you get to a point where you have like a shift in societal norms that can allow for all these different aspects of the one, like that understanding of the one, to realize itself
Yeah.
And not like, because yes, you can realize and understand that everything's one, but if you have parts of your life or people in your life that aren't understanding, or like society at large not understanding that and not taking that to heart, there's a fracture there. There's a blindness that you have no control over necessarily.
Yeah.
And you can do your best to affect that, but if the rest of society, or even like your community around you, doesn't fully accept it, it can still fracture and make it difficult. That's why you see these Buddhist monks and these like people who have achieved this and so-called enlightenment. They live secluded lives where they're not.
Oh, I should have
Where their
searched for
societies-
more of that guy. Because
I know. Oh yeah, I'm sure I could find it.
Yeah, we'll look for something new during the break.
Yeah,
but,
we'll look on that in the break.
yeah.
But yeah, no, it's like, you know what I mean? Like, they're secluded. They live a life where their society, their environment, their community is fully embraced in that idea.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So when you act yourself, to your fullest self within that, it makes it easier because you are embraced.
Yeah.
Instead of called the kooky one that's like, you know.
I think a big part of that is just not othering people, you know?
Right.
In
Exactly.
all the different ways that we other people, whether
Exactly.
through like racism or sexism or
All the
just
different
like
things.
like people of a different political party or people who do this. Like if there's ever like a thing in your head where you're like, I hate people that blah blah blah, and and if that blah 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 is not like a conscious action or behavior that someone does that is like harmful,
Right.
then like you're othering
judgment.
someone.
Yeah,
right?
it's judgment.
And honestly, even when like someone has a behavior, like even criminals, even people who are like do the most dastardly of things, like they are still a human, and they may not deserve like full status and full freedom in our society in order to keep the peace, but like that doesn't necessarily mean that you treat them as like garbage per se. Like you treat them with justice, but
dignity.
Yeah, that's where like even there's a lot of like morality and principles that need to be upheld, even for like people who are on like death row. I don't know. It's interesting.
That's why like you'd have like the British government, or was it the British government that sends all their prisoners to Australia?
Yeah.
And just let them start their own society.
I know one person who hasn't reached enlightenment. It's Austin Powers' father. There's only two types of people in the world I hate: people who are intolerant of other people's cultures, and the Dutch.
He hates himself. He hates himself then. So good. But yeah, that's a
cool one. I like that definition for enlightenment.
I like how he starts with like a really simple.
Yeah.
That's the thing about Bashar that just flabbergasts me, at least in the sense of like whether you believe him or not, as being a channeler. He is so quick and so on point.
Yeah.
With a lot of the ways he describes these lessons. And when you see an interview with Daryl, it's a completely different vibe.
Right.
He's searching. He's trying to like remember. He's like, he has vague memories and like of instances where Bashar does this or says that. And he has these recordings to look back on, but like he is still a human. And like, but when you see these channelings, he's like so quick and on point and able to
he's quick,
tell you.
He talks fast, and what he says is profound, whether or not you believe he is who he says he is. Like that behavior pattern shift is pretty intense.
Yeah. And how much energy he brings to it.
Yeah.
Right. And like we saw where we actually saw Daryl get into character a bit. And we've listened to interviews of just Daryl too. But he has a totally different energy, a totally different vibe than when you hear like a even a partial
Right.
one of these where it's Bashar talking. He's fully energetic. He takes these moments to pause and really think about things, but then when he comes out and says it, it's like so clear and succinct with his original idea, but he's able to like branch off and like make jokes and lighten the mood and, you know, but all while embracing like the overall arc of what he's trying to tell you.
Exactly. Right.
Which is pretty impressive. Like if that's all Daryl doing this, that's impressive.
It is, yeah. If it is all Daryl, it's very impressive. Very much so.
So whether you believe that it's
Yeah.
Daryl or Bashar channeling, it's impressive nonetheless.
Right. And like even if there is no channeling happening, even if channeling isn't real, that doesn't necessarily mean that the things he says aren't true or the things he says aren't like impactful.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's the message, not the messenger.
Yep.
And I think that's important.
Yep. I agree.
Well, cool.
All right.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, thank you. And good day. I would love to somehow get him on, if we could interview him.
Oh, dude.
I mean, even just Daryl.
Yeah, for sure.
Interview him and talk to him about this stuff. I bet you as much as we've put him on this podcast and like listen to his stuff, I don't know how popular he is widely.
Yeah,
or how
I don't know
like
either.
Or like how well known he is.
I mean,
there's clearly
been on like
Joe Rogan
a
yet,
large
so he's
amount
not like
of
a massive
right. There's clearly
you know?
a large amount of like live events that he's participating in.
Like Gaia is one of the things he's a part of.
Sure.
And has a lot of stuff on.
And I don't know like the audience size of Gaia in general.
Yeah, I don't know either. We'd have to look into that a bit.
But it's all really interesting. You having audio trouble there?
Yeah, my headset keeps cutting in and out. Trying to get it clear. There we go. As soon as I put it down, it like. There we go.
Okay, cool.
All right.
So what do we got here? Speaking of Gaia, this
is just a quote from
Gaia.
From Gaia's Instagram page that I came across and I liked. So it says, so this is off their We Are Gaia Instagram page, and it says, witches call it spells, Christians call it prayer, atheists call it the placebo effect, scientists call it quantum physics. Everyone's arguing over its name. No one is denying its existence.
Bro, yeah. I don't think the scientists call it quantum physics is accurate.
Sure.
That probably fits under atheists call it the placebo effect.
Yeah. But scientists, you know, they call it.
There are a group
material
of scientists who would possibly call it that, but that's kind of a fringe group of the theoreticians. Or maybe, you know, probably some more people too, but like it's not quote unquote official science's position that the placebo effect is caused by quantum physics, for instance. No.
But I would say that, like, as far as like what they're trying to say with this whole thing is like witches call this paranormal stuff spells, and they call it incantations, right? And then Christians call it prayer, and you know,
hippies call it
the aliens.
No. No, I was going to say like hippies or new agers call it the law of attraction.
Yeah, exactly. The secret.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we all have different ways of describing it based off our, situation, where we're at, where our understanding of the information. But there is an effect. There's something going on here.
Yeah.
There's something happening, and nobody's denying it. We're all just calling it different things.
Right. Yeah. The esoteric call it magic.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought that was an interesting quote, and I wanted to include it.
Naming it causes the dissonance. This is one of the top comments. Just be, just know, all else is a distraction. May all be magnetized to explore the depths of their own being. Source is always within. That's a good comment. Heck yeah. I like that one.
Yeah. And then I got a pretty funny and dope one. You got to play the music with this one if we're going to show it.
All right, cool.
So this is Water/Airbending Dolphin. I wanted to share.
Heck yeah. Is he blowing air rings underwater?
Mm-hmm.
That's sick.
He's going up, taking breaths, blowing air rings, and then he's turning it into smaller ones. And then he splits it and blows it away with water.
What?
Bro. These creatures are much more intelligent than we give them credit for.
Holy cow, dude.
And he's bouncing it in the water, playing with it, making it spin.
That's
And then he sucks it off and blows it off as a perfect freaking air ring in the water.
That's so skillful.
How long did it take him to figure this out? Probably not very long, but
Is this
this is obviously in captivity. This is a dolphin in captivity.
sure, but is this trained behavior, or is this something a
Like
trainer just found a dolphin who knows how to do this type of stuff?
I can't imagine that's trained behavior.
Like, how would you go about even trying to train this behavior?
This has got to be a dolphin
Training
who's
in
bored as
general,
fuck, and he's sitting in a freaking tank, and he has nothing else to do, and he figures out how to show off
Yeah,
and
yeah.
have fun.
Wow.
And dolphins are crazy, bro. Dolphins are so damn intelligent.
Dude, I can't stop staring at this.
It's so cool.
You got to play this on repeat over and over in the edit
I
people
will.
can follow along with that.
Yeah,
That is
I'll
so
probably
sick.
cut the music out while we're talking here, but yeah, we'll definitely have this playing over and over again while we're talking about it. It's so good, man.
Dang.
So cool. And that's why I wanted the music, because the music actually kind of fit it in the beginning.
Uh-huh. Wow. Cool. All right.
The world is much more interesting than we understand, man. I think there's so many more animals that have a layer of intelligence and understanding that we just don't give them credit for.
Somebody said, give bro a vape.
He's got a vape, bro.
We got
Look at him.
airbending vape god dolphins before GTA 6.
Of course, I knew that was coming.
Bro, out there opening portals. Dude, I love the comments.
GTA 6 is never coming out. So, I've got this weather thing here. And this is something that I was listening to one of the recent
Saturn stuff?
Yeah, I was listening to one of the recent Brothers of the Serpent podcast episodes, and they brought this up, and it just fascinated the hell out of me.
In Saturn's rings?
Yeah, so there's these ripples in when the moon Daphnis moves through the opening of one of the rings, it creates these gravitational ripples.
Whoa.
Where it's pulling and pushing these the particles within the rings.
Look at that.
As waves. So I'll read this while we're poking through some of these images here. Daphnis orbits within the Kepler gap in the Saturn's dense A ring. As it orbits, it creates gravitational ripples on the edges of the gap as ring particles are attracted toward the moon and then fall back down towards the ring. The waves made by the moon in the inner edge of the gap precede it in orbit, while the outer edge lag behind it. Due to the differences in relative orbital speed, in a paragraph taken on January 18, 2017, a tendril of ring particles can be seen to extend towards the moon, according to JPL. This may have resulted from a moment when Daphnis drew a packet of material out of the ring, and now that packet is spreading itself out. So there's these other views. There's that view, and then there's this other view from further out where they probably first detected it.
Whoa.
And you can see, so the moon's moving through that gap, and
One edge and the other
on the
edge.
inner edge, it's preceding it, so it's ahead of the moon, and those are the ripples being affected ahead of the moon.
Because these particles are orbiting faster than the moon is. So, like, whatever ripples the moon is causing are then
forward.
orbiting ahead.
Yep.
Whereas the moon is orbiting faster than the outer ring,
edge,
so it's leaving those ripples behind. Wow.
So cool.
Does it just orbit in that path? That moon?
It says Daphnis was photographed from a significantly close distance to reveal its shape. The moon was discovered to be an irregularly shaped object. No, that just tells you about the moon. So the orbit, here it goes. The inclination and eccentricity of Daphnis' orbit are very small, but distinguishable from zero. Both, particularly the inclination, inclination are significantly greater than those of Pan.
But what about the inclination of the rings? Like, what is the inclination of the moon's orbit in comparison to the inclination of the rings, I wonder?
So it says Daphnis' eccentricity causes its distance from Saturn to vary by roughly 9 kilometers, and its inclination causes it to move up and down by 17 kilometers. The Kepler gap within which Daphnis orbits is about 42 kilometers wide.
So this body is probably what's responsible for the gap between those two rings.
I think so.
Yeah.
And I think it moves towards towards it and moves down away.
But each time it dips through, it's causing like a new set of ripples.
Yep. Through the inner and outer rings, which probably end up pushing it further in and out away from it.
Right. Wow.
So that sounds like it's exactly what it is. It's the creation of the gap there.
Right. That's incredible. That's beautiful. I want to try and find some more high res pictures.
Yeah, there's a handful
to attach to the episode.
That one's
but
like
these are
super
incredible.
zoomed out, but these ones are a little bit better here.
Yeah. It's just when you bring them up, they get pretty pixelated. I'll find a higher res one to share with you guys. This is so cool.
Yeah.
Wow, that's
this
gorgeous.
Was fascinating.
Dang.
So cool.
All right, so I got some UFO stuff, and I've got an interesting like Twitter thread with some clips of this guy Thomas Campbell, and
Thomas Campbell,
his take on simulation theory.
Cool! I love simulation theory.
Yeah, I figure we start with the UFO stuff though.
Okay.
So I came across this from this post here, from Imminent Disclosure on X or Twitter. And so these are the first images I saw that it says a Tic Tac UFO recorded on Mars by the NASA Mars Curiosity rover mast cam on Sol 2692, March 3rd, 2020. Look at that. But the problem with this is AI upscaled.
To just be sharper.
Yeah.
Well, you could tell around it. You could tell the distortion around it.
Yeah, I don't feel comfortable trusting an upscale. But anyway, here's another version of that image. And then this is actually the source image. And I didn't trust it, so I went and found in the comments a link to the actual image on NASA's website. So this is...
I see it.
Yeah, mars.nasa.gov/raw images. And yeah, check this thing out, dude.
That certainly has a shadow cast on the ground like that. It's floating.
Right.
It's egg-shaped, Tic Tac shape.
Yeah, and that's the thing is like the shadow is... So this part...
Right below it.
I'll circle some of the stuff I'm talking about here, but there's like two sections to the shadow, right? Like one section appears to be on the like sand regolith or whatever, like the ground, and another section of the shadow appears to be on a rock. But that could be an optical illusion because if you follow my mouse pointer here, if you look at this section of the rock, this appears to be elevated. So this little bit of shadow here could actually be projected from this piece of the rock.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
But this section of shadow that's on the ground clearly matches with this shape, this Tic Tac shape. So it could be an optical illusion that this part of the shadow looks like it's from the Tic Tac, but it may not be. It could just be this part.
Which would make it easier to fake too.
But the thing is like, it's clearly not fake. Like, this is on NASA's website. Like, this is raw data from the Curiosity.
But you got to also look at the shadowing on the Tic Tac object itself. So it looks like it perfectly matches up with that. As far as like I can tell, it looks like it perfectly matches up with that leading edge and the tailing edge. That makes sense for it to be lost in the shadow of the rock that's up higher, because we don't know how far in front of that object it is or where the angle of the light is coming from that's casting the shadow. Right. So if it's farther in front of that...
Well, we can kind of deduce the angle of the light based on the shapes of all of these other rocks and where their relative shadows lie. So we can tell the sun is just about basically overhead. It, like, from the perspective of the rover, it's probably if you were to say a 90-degree angle is directly overhead, and then you were to make that angle a little more obtuse and move it away from you. Yeah. Right? Like, it looks like it's tilted back slightly from like high noon position.
And if that's the case, the shadow would cast towards you.
Towards you a little bit, which is kind of what you're seeing from some of these other rock shapes, is that the shadow appears to come out from them a bit.
But then you see that rock formation on the front side of the shadow, which could be hiding part of the actual shadow that would be cast, even though that shadow might be mostly from the rock that you first pointed out. The other shadow would be lost in that, and it might be some more that we're just missing because of the peak of that rock. So this
right half of the shadow may or may not actually be from the Tic Tac, and I actually kind of think it's not, based on the shape of
and especially
this rock.
The angle of the Tic Tac.
Yeah, the left side of that shadow, there doesn't seem to be anything that could be casting that other than the Tic Tac shape itself.
Yeah, that looks like sand. It's
and then the thing about the Tic Tac shape is like that it's so like kind of perfectly Tic Tac capsule shaped, and it doesn't appear to be like attached to anything like any of these other like terrain photos. And so,
and the shading and the gradients on the Tic Tac itself, so you got super bright light, you could tell that that's the side of the craft that that light is coming down on. You've got a grayish hue, and then it turns into a black shadow on the bottom left side, bottom close to us side.
So this has been blown up on X today.
I saw an image, but I didn't have time to click on it and investigate. But I'm glad you brought it in.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool one. And then I found someone posted, and I'll read from the direct Reddit post that they're referencing. But if this Reddit post goes down, I'll link the X post that has it screenshotted. So I kind of wanted to go over this. This is a bit of a play-by-play of what like how this has happened. Okay. So it says, before you continue reading, download and share this original panorama from the NASA website before this post gets taken down. This is obviously not the original panorama because it's not from the NASA website, but this is a low-res image of that panorama that is stitched together. Anyway, it says more on this later, but the original panorama keeps getting removed by Reddit as soon as it's posted. And there's already been several users who've received permanent Reddit bans. Archive this post. After thinking about it for some time, I've decided to open a thread about this one more time. The events of the past few days seem very suspicious to me, and it now appears that a disinformation campaign has been set up to muddy the water. It concerns the Mars Tic Tac UAP captured by the Mars Curiosity rover on Sol 2692 on March 2020. An overview of the events. On March 12th, 2025, around 13:30 GMT, a user in the UFO Discord who explicitly requested not to be named spotted a Tic Tac UAP in the Mars rover data and shared information about it. Between 13:45 and 14:30, so 15 minutes to an hour later, several NASA web pages were archived by members of the private UFO group, of which I am also a part. During the archiving, various NASA pages were taken offline or temporarily blocked. Several source data sets were removed or altered in the process. Around 1500 GMT, a user from the UFO Discord made an initial attempt to post about this Tic Tac in the UFO subreddit. This post was almost immediately removed. Between 1500 and 1700, there were 6 more attempts, but once again, all these threads were deleted. Additionally, posts about the topic in unrelated threads were removed, resulting in bans for 2 users. Around 1700, one of the members found various links through the metadata of this webpage this is the mars.nasa.gov, which redirected to mars.nasa.gov/resource, blah, 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 an index HTML where a folder structure was discovered containing downloadable links. Exactly at 17:21 p.m., a member used a web crawler via Tor to analyze the folder structure, and with a download tool, downloaded all available data at the time. This involved a package of 78 megabytes of source data, with the download getting stuck at 98%. Of the over 900 images, about 70 of these JPEGs turned out to be corrupt because of the download link on the NASA side was prematurely interrupted. However, the false color panorama featuring the relevant Tic Tac was fully received. This 25 megabyte panorama should have hopefully already been downloaded before this post is taken offline. The panorama is, contrary to what the debunkers claim, not edited using AI. This is the original panorama from NASA itself, with only false color added based on the grayscale values of the .RAW monocam from the Curiosity. The assertion that the Tic Tac images being shared are edited or that they appear that way as a result of upscaling is therefore false and disinformation. Around 3 o'clock GMT on March 13th, a post was admitted to the UFO subreddit after much urging, in which a post from a moderator contained an immediate debunk based on the incorrect claim that the Tic Tac was the result of upscaling. The post was quickly criticized and downvoted according to an anonymous source, eventually reaching over 500 downvotes. Shortly after this, the post was removed. It was decided to pin the post, keeping it at the top and allowing the incorrect narrative to remain prominent. This post also claims that the Tic Tac would be only a few millimeters in size, and that the thread title, "A Tic Tac has been spotted on Mars by NASA," blah, 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 would be misleading. At 11:40 GMT on March 13th, the Reddit post in UFOs was taken offline just after the moment the thread became trending and appeared on the front page. This was also about 10 minutes after the original panorama was posted in the thread. The panorama was subsequently removed as well. The official reason for the removal of this thread was due to a violation of Article 6, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, pretty interesting.
That'll happen within the last few days.
Yeah. So someone on the UFO subreddit was just browsing around Mars Curiosity images on NASA and came across that, posted it, and then all this craziness ensued.
Wow.
And then it blew up all over the internet. So pretty interesting, and it definitely seemed like some of the moderators of that UFO subreddit were trying to downgrade the credibility of that.
And that even though they were downvoted, they were still prominently held at the top of the comment sections,
right,
or the top of the replies and whatever.
Mm-hmm. Which definitely seems like some funny business, because this photo is pretty incredible.
Yeah.
And we're looking at it here from the mars.nasa.gov website. Like, this is the source image.
My links weren't working.
This one isn't? The mars.nasa.gov one?
No.
It's working.
Access denied.
Really? I don't know why I'm special.
Oh, here we go. This one's working. This one's working from the...
Anyway, I
Episode
downloaded it. So I'll give you guys the mars.nasa.gov website to check. If that's down, I will also have the source image linked from our website so that you guys can at least see the high res source image from us. So,
Yeah, I mean, for how smooth that is, you couldn't really claim it's like some just like space dust or space debris
no.
moving through.
And like the source image is pretty well zoomed out, and
And you have to get in there pretty like bottom left corner of the source image,
right,
to really find it. Interesting.
and if you see the original panorama, the slice is in a different location than this artifact. So you can't even claim that it's like an artifact of the stitching together of two segments of photos because the slice is offset from that.
Right. Damn,
But yeah,
that's pretty cool.
freaking Tic Tacs on Mars. So what do you think? You think it's
It's Elon Musk.
yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Is it our secret space program, or is this someone else?
I
Because
don't know anymore, man. I think Elon Musk knows more.
I feel
He's
like
thinking.
our secret space program would know to stay the fuck away from wherever the Curiosity is.
Yeah, unless you have full confidence that nobody's ever going to find it and people are going to scrub it from the
Unless
internet.
people in the secret space program are like, let's fuck with them. Right?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, controlled leaks.
Yeah. But I mean, this was from 2020 when this image was taken. It was only discovered recently. Like there's a wealth of these photos on the NASA website that you can just thumb through. And like, but it takes someone to actually thumb through it to actually find this stuff. And it's not till like controversies spark up that like edits and things change. And
Right.
like this thing's been sitting on their website for 5 years.
Yeah, so maybe it was just an oversight on whoever's supposed to scrub these things before they put them up on the website.
And if your response to that is NASA doesn't scrub images, check out my next thing I'm bringing here today, which is this post from Ryan X on X. And, oh no, it's this post here from Tio Red Octopus. He says, imagine trusting NASA at NASA. This is a source photo on NASA's website, and look at this convenient black box.
Yeah.
But,
I wonder what they're hiding there.
so I went and I found, like digging through the comments, I found the source photo of this also on NASA's website. So this is mars.nasa.gov.
Big black box.
Big
over.
black box.
Yeah, they don't edit anything.
Right. Of course, I kept digging in the comments, and someone else was like, well, I imagine this will get posted to the community notes as a correction. But the thing is if you compare these two photos, this is essentially the same view. Here, I'll zoom back out here. Boop, 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 boop. So if you compare this photo here to this photo, they look almost identical. Like the rover is clearly in the same area, right? But the body of the rover is in a different section. There's nothing interesting behind what on this photo is blacked out in a black square, but on this photo, there's nothing interesting there. So maybe it's another weird flyby, and this time someone at NASA happened to catch it and
We're able to
drop a
scrub it
black
out.
square over it. Or maybe this is just the way that instrumentation glitches sometimes. So I don't know. But
Yeah.
I found that pretty interesting.
I'm curious how high the camera is off the ground too, because the black box wasn't big enough based on what I'm seeing. Because the Mars rovers are what, like maybe the size of a small car.
I don't know the full size and specs.
Maybe.
That'd be interesting. Yeah, I would say that's the upper limit of how big it is.
And if this camera's maybe 6 feet off the ground on a mast, and it's pointing down at the rover and everything around it, this would be pretty low to the ground.
Right.
So anything within that box
Would have to be pretty
tiny.
small. So maybe it's like an insect or some sort of life. Like
Some
imagine
sort of
if
life.
there's some sort of life form and they tried to edit it out because it flew right by the camera or something, right? And so in one image is right there, but in the next image it's not, and that's why one of them's censored but the other one isn't. If censorship is the answer for this black square,
Yeah.
I'm not 100% saying it is, but
It's a weird black square. It's got like a white shadow to it,
yeah, it does.
which is it's just weird. Like, that
It's-
doesn't seem like something you would put in an edit either.
Yeah,
If you were editing
would think
it
in
and
an
putting
edit, it
in-
would be a clean
It
black
would be a
square.
clean black square, but unless
Yeah.
they're trying to make it seem like, unless they're
But at
cleverly
the same time, it's
putting
got
it in
like a
edit.
weird rounded rectangle, like
Yeah,
that's
it's
not
weird.
sharp edges. There seems to be like a white ghosting, around the black square. It's strange. It's strange.
And it almost like there's a line in the square.
Yeah.
If you look closely, there's a line that makes like a white line in the black square that makes
right
like another
here?
square.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's interesting. Huh.
So unless that's like, what if this black square is the thing that we're looking for?
It's an entity.
Is actually the thing,
It's a square shadow being.
or it's a shadow projecting onto the lens somehow,
Yeah, that's
Of the
interesting.
camera.
That's interesting.
because it looks more organic than what you would put in an editing because of the soft rounded edges.
Well, there's layers of processing that happen too, right? So
Sure.
maybe the square got added at an earlier step of
And then
the
they
image
did a bunch of
signal
effects on
processing.
it.
Yeah.
I see. Yeah, maybe in the shadowing and this little artifact within the square
Yeah.
happened during that process.
Either way, it's pretty interesting stuff.
Yeah,
And these are-
imagine trusting NASA.
which makes me like think about the Dark Mission book. Have you ever read that book?
I think I did, but I can't remember everything. off the top
Yeah,
of my
I read
head.
it a long time ago when I was first getting into this whole like alternative history conspiracy rabbit hole. It's called like NASA Dark Mission, and it goes over like
The Secret Mission to Mars.
Secret Mission. Well, it goes over like Cydonia, and it goes over like monoliths on the moon,
Right.
and his claim is that NASA is essentially an occult organization. He goes into the whole like Jack Parsons and like all the symbology that they choose for their launches and all the like weird numerology they do for launch dates.
I think we
and-
referenced this in a previous episode too.
I think we referenced it. Yeah. Anyway, it would be cool to do a deep dive on that at some point.
It would be.
But yeah, there's definitely funny business with NASA.
Yeah, and the fact that supposedly they're funding, like me personally, I've never supported another company. Like as far as like governmental like agencies, NASA is one of the ones that I would be like fine with if they weren't so damn secretive and like
Right.
like I put all of what I did put in NASA into SpaceX because I'm hoping that they will just tell us when they find something. But
Yeah, except now we have Elon's behavior on Joe Rogan
I
and
know.
being asked about UFOs and like.
But I'm hoping, I still have hope.
There needs to be more open
Yeah.
competition, and once access to space is cheaper, more widely practiced, and there's multiple companies, and like
Yeah.
it's a citizen can just go up. Like the number of sightings, like disclosure has to happen before then because the number of sightings is going to go through the roof
Yeah.
if there's any truth to it all, right?
Elon needs to, so what you're saying is Elon needs to open source his rocket technology and his.
Yeah, that ain't
his-
gonna happen. But
And his rapid reuse technology so that other companies can compete.
well, he
so
can
that
only
eventually we get the
patent it
truth.
for so long. Like a patent
True.
expires
True.
after like 7 to 9 years or something, right? But so he can only take
Eventually.
advantage. Yeah, eventually it will open source.
And we're not too far from that, honestly.
Yeah,
But the patents change. He's still iterating.
right. But like at a certain point, like even if you don't have the cutting edge, like you'll still have the rapid reusable because now it's gone to public domain.
Exactly. Yeah, the rapid reusability.
Luckily, patents don't last as long as copyrights do. So
it's just a matter of time before we have a lot of competition to get to space, and hopefully we get the truth, because there's got to be lots of billionaires out there that are willing to start a company based off of finding the actual truth and not having to be beholden to a governmental agency.
Right.
Eventually. We'll get there.
So, yeah. Sweet.
Right.
Well, let's take our first break. We're already 45 in.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll just do 2 segments for this episode then.
Could be.
We'll see.
We'll see how long this next couple bits take me to cover, because there's some interesting stuff here.
Cool.
All right. So we'll be back in a minute. This is Stevie Nader called Take You On from his album 333.
Enjoy.
I've been caught in a storm before. You turned and said to me I was out past the shore, sailing towards a dream, and I promised myself that I never sail one step off my coast. Among the things to say, among the things to say, among the things to say, among the things to say. Say I would take you on, I take you on, I take you on. Say I would take you on, take you on, I take you on. Once I was lost in the woods, you slowly start to say, rain beat down where I stood, as I tried to find my way, and I swore to myself that I never said one step off my path. Among the things to say, among the things to say, among the things to say, among the things to say. Say I would take you on, I take you on, I take you on. Say I would take you on, take you on, I take you on. Say I would take you on, I take you on, I take you on. Say I would take you on, take you on, take you on. I was on the shore and standing at the wooden exit door, 'cause it was you that I was waiting for. Yeah, that was me standing on the shore and knocking at the wooden exit door, 'cause it was you that I was waiting for. Well, I would take you on, I 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 take you on.
Welcome back for the second segment let's take this segment on.
Did you guys do that album? 333?
We recorded it.
Yeah. Did you do the mixing and mastering?
John did all the mixing.
Okay.
And
that makes sense.
He contributed little bits of production throughout it. And
yeah.
even so much as on one song, Stevie said featuring John Glover because it was one of John's
beats.
Yeah, that he had previously worked on.
I have an affinity for offbeats, and John does too. I can tell in the way he makes his music.
Stevie has that in his own.
I can tell in his vocals he has that in his own way too, though.
Yeah, so him and John were like, dude, I cannot keep up with them, bro.
Yeah.
Like I was there, like helping with all the technical recording shit and whatnot, but then like these two would start talking music, and like they were like bouncing off each other. Yeah. I was like, hey,
let me know when to push record.
Let me know what you need.
Yeah, no, when I play drums and like different like beat, like when I do bongos or any type of drums, I'm more drawn to offbeat drumming.
Right.
And I could feel that within that song.
Yeah. That's definitely that's a big part of like Stevie's feel to his music. Yeah.
And it draws me in, dude, every time. I love that whole like harmonic thing that he's got going on with himself in a lot of cases.
Right.
But then John comes in with like the offbeat like beats that are like perfectly synced up, but like it's not fully offbeat.
No, honestly,
it's like on beat, but then you have a lot of the offbeat weaved in it.
This song specifically was almost like already done by Stevie. Like there was like little notes here and there. Yeah. I think maybe that John added as like little flourishes, but like it was mostly recording his vocals, mixing his vocals, and mixing his like production, right? Like he came in with a Reason file. He used a Reason too. Okay. So he already came in with a Reason file, and
it was just more like mastering it and like
like getting everything to like sit in its pocket and whatnot, you know. But
John.
But Stevie and John, like they really like
they really vibe together with their musical like intelligence.
Yeah, their taste like is very compatible. So it was fun to watch those two bounce off each other.
Yeah, I like a lot of the beats that I heard that John made were always that kind of flavor of the offbeat, like but like on beat. But like flourishes of offbeat, which actually tied in perfectly because of overlap.
Yeah.
And it sounded good, and I like it. And that's how I drum. Like that was like my natural drumming pattern. Yeah. When I hear something, and I'm drumming to it, or like somebody's singing, and I'm drumming to somebody singing. I'm not on the beat. I'm like just off it.
Yeah,
and it feels.
I like
you're
that
hitting
too.
it right in the spot.
I like a nice mixture of the two too. Like there's one beat I made where it's like boom boom cat boom boom cat boom boom cat, and then it was like boom boom cat. Like it was like like only on one of them is like it's the upbeat instead of the downbeat.
Yeah.
And it like had a cool like bounce to it. Doing it that way.
I like it.
Anyway,
I wish I would have sat with you guys more. Man, I want. You know what I'm gonna start doing is actually that I've already planned to do is start bringing out my trumpet more and playing with the boys.
Oh yeah,
because I play trumpet and I was actually pretty
Wyatt's
good.
Got that music book. You gotta show him what you can do. Have you showed him you playing trumpet at all?
Yeah, because I had my old trumpet, but my old trumpet's a garbage now. It's literally just like brass, like decaying in my garage. I'm going to buy a new one soon, but I can still play the old one. But it's like the slides don't work at the best as well as they did.
So it's hard to like.
And I haven't used it in so many years.
Rusty, but it's rusty.
Exactly. And with brass, it's like lime scale. Like it's like all my spit accumulated within it. Like you just see like green and white, like lime scale, like building up on it, and everything's just tough.
Right.
I mean, I know they make stuff for it, but anyway, I'm gonna buy a new one, and I'm gonna get back on my old like basic books, and I'm gonna like
just
learn
put it
again
out there in the universe on the pod. So
I'm for sure doing it.
Let's do this, bro.
Yeah, I'm for sure doing it.
I'm so excited. I can't wait to see. Like you got a video like Wyatt reacting to you playing too.
I used to play it for Jordan and Emery. Because I was still like, when they were young, I would play it for them, and they loved it. So I'm definitely going to be bringing that out for my boys.
Heck yeah. We got to nurture that music flame.
Absolutely. Anyway.
Heck yeah.
Long tangent off of just the song here.
By the way, go check out the links it provided. You can check out, I always provide the Spotify links for all the artists. So check out Stevie's links and give him a follow, give him a like on Spotify. And his stuff is great.
Yes.
You super love it, give him a download on iTunes also.
Hell yeah. All right, let's hop back in.
All right, so here's the next thing I got. This is from Red Panda Koala, one of my favorite UFO guys. And it reads, Steven Greer gets heated when interview says UFOs aren't all love and light, and many people report negative encounters. So let's, I thought this would be interesting to check out.
All right.
It is peace. And I think that is the situation.
Okay, I understand that's your philosophy.
No, it's not my philosophy. It's what the evidence, this is not how I started out. This is what I have found to be true from many different witness testimonies and the observation overall and aggregate.
But our witness testimony would contradict that.
Well, fine.
So what do you do with that? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And maybe we'll have to compare notes because, really, to be honest with you, this is valuable. Because what happens is, for better or worse, we're both out there. We're both investigating these questions, and they are open questions that actually
they are, but I think it's rather unhelpful if you go onto a blog and say that what I'm saying and doing is sinister. I think that, I have never said anything harmful about you guys.
It's insidious. The reason it's insidious
and I think that this is exactly the kind of thing. And I'm going to absolutely, you invited me to an interview, I'm going to provide an interview. If you want to overtalk everything I say, you can overtalk what I say.
You overtalk us.
But I am telling you that I'm being interviewed. And so the point is that if...
It's mutual. See, you don't know this, and I'm sorry. We didn't have time to tell you our philosophy of how we conduct an interview, but I did kind of warn you that we have differences of opinion.
We have differences of opinion, and that's fine. But I think the most dangerous thing we can do is say everyone has partial information.
Right.
To start making sweeping judgments that are negative. And you can say, well, it's not negative, we're just saying that they're in service to self versus service to others, and couch it however you wish. But if we go down that path, we're already creating a new cosmological us versus them, which is the absolute recapitulation of the mistake on Earth for the last 10,000 years. I think we can do better than that. I think we have to learn to look at these things, and let's say that everything that your philosophy and how you're viewing this is correct. If it's 100% correct, I would still say the path of wisdom is education, elucidation, engagement peacefully, higher states of consciousness, all of this. I don't think it consists in characterizations, name-calling, what have you. Now that goes on the diplomatic front and between nations on the earth. And I think we have to be very careful not to engage in that sort of anthropocentric projection of the current state of duality of the human condition on these visitors. I think it may be much more difficult to make those kinds of assessments. But if we go down that path, what we'll be doing is that we'll be dragging the baggage of the old era into this pivotal time, this embryonic time, where we're trying to transition to a new civilization, the hallmark of which will be universal peace. I don't think we're going to be going into a period of time of competing planetary systems having wars. And I think that this is, although that is the Scientological view and it's many of the eschatologists' view, I think that actually we're going to go through a quantum transformation that's global and interplanetary that will make this quite clear in the coming years, if not months. I think that time is getting very short. Entry ticket.
So that was an interesting exchange, huh?
Yeah. I mean, he did a very good job of articulating his point.
He did. And I agree with a lot of his points. However, you can't ignore the negative aspects. Like I think
he's not like saying to ignore it necessarily in the end there. He made it clear that
he said
the negative could be absolutely what's real.
Right. He was saying even if what you're saying there is true.
Yeah.
Like to the extreme even, I think is his point is like that's we still have to approach it with a open and like peaceful state of consciousness. And
Otherwise, we're
totally
starting out. We're starting out the understanding of what it is that's happening as native.
Right. We can't be like approaching these aliens and being like keeping like Sun Tzu's The Art of War in the back of our head. Like, hey, yo, how should we work with these bitches? Like,
yeah. Should we just nuke them, or what are we gonna do here?
You know, like, especially like with such a like psychic element to all this, like you can't be trying to like spycraft against aliens and shit, you know?
Yeah.
Like you got to be real fucking careful with like the attitude you bring to it. However, like you got to be super, like this is where the duality, right? Like you got to be careful of like the toxic positivity, right? Like you go so far positive and denying the negative, right? Because good is good and bad is evil, right? Like
you got to embrace the fact that there's going to be both sides.
If you ignore the negative aspects of a phenomenon just because you just only want to live in the positive, like you're now going down the path of this toxic positivity. And like she said, you're leaving us vulnerable. You're leaving us, it's insidious because you're leaving us vulnerable to like
the potential,
like a naive approach at it, right? Like,
you're saying that there's no way of them being negative, and so we're not going to be prepared whatsoever for the possibility that we have to now defend ourselves.
Right. And it's like that martial mentality of like always be prepared, right? Like you're always prepared to fucking put down a fight, right? But that doesn't mean you're looking for one. Right. Like, but you have to be conscious and acknowledge the possibilities. Otherwise, you're kind of asking them to get taken advantage of.
Which makes sense in the sense of like where all this disclosure now is coming out is from the intelligence community. These people understand that we have capabilities and have maybe cultivated further capabilities that we aren't aware of yet to defend ourselves if need be.
Right.
But maybe, and I'm giving them an olive branch here of maybe the people who did come into contact with whatever entities are out there are doing, I'm not going to say that they're doing the right thing, but I will say that they have somewhat the intentions of the human population at heart.
Yeah.
Maybe not the United States at heart, but the human population of the earth at heart when they are negotiating or having conversations and interacting with these beings. So if there is a negative aspect to what is going on and these ambassadors of the earth are being the ones that were contacting them, maybe it is possible that what they are offering is we are going to wipe you out, the negative, right? Where you're going to wipe your entire population out and take over, or maybe not wipe out, but we're going to enslave the population. You're our servants.
Not just we're going to, you already have been.
And so these ambassadors, these dark projects, these dark, government, and,
are trying to negotiate.
Are going to negotiate it so that we can survive or eventually survive long enough to where we can get to a point where we can survive.
Right.
Without being
subjugated.
Right. But even still, his point is valid. Because even though there is negative, you have to do and you have to act in such a way to not be so aggressive.
Right.
You have to be non-aggressive when it comes to actually negotiating. It's the three body problem, right? It's like a realistic, like if it were to happen, they came here and they're like, we're gonna wipe you out. What are you gonna do? Like, okay, well, let's push off this wipeout for hundreds of years. Let's design a way for us to give you what it is you're looking for so that we can survive. And while we're doing that, maybe we can get some technology to help us do the job better.
Right.
And then eventually get to a point where we are knowledgeable and have capabilities enough to break free of whatever it is that the oppression is that we're actually being subjugated to.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting though. Like, freaking Steven Greer, like he's one of those people. Like I cannot pin him down, like on like how seriously I want to take him, because sometimes he just speaks so much sense, and sometimes he's so ahead of the curve. But then at the same, like on the opposite side of the spectrum, he's like so self-ingratiating. Like he's got so much ego wrapped up in himself. Yeah. And like you see some of that coming out in this clip, right?
Absolutely.
And he kind of diffuses it, but after like ego checking her, right? Like,
I know.
Like it's,
I fully agree with what you're saying there. There's enough to be abrasive. Like he's an abrasive kind of person.
Yeah, but like also at the same time, like you kind of have to be someone who's willing to be like on that bleeding edge of like all the whistleblowers and shit, right?
Not one person who changed history was not eccentric and outgoing and self-serving.
Right. And that was one of the terms he chose, right? Like saying like these people are like peaceful versus are they like maybe not even like antagonistic but self-serving, right? Like I think that's an interesting way to word it too. Like
that's a great way. Yeah.
Like it's not necessarily that like these entities, or at least even like a species of them, right? Because I kind of fully subscribe to the if there's one, there's many, and it only makes sense that way. Like, what are the chances that only one, if there is life out there, and
there's definitely gonna be more than one. If like the probability of it is that if there's more than one, there's many.
Well, if there's one, there's many, right? Yeah. If there's more than us, there's many.
There's many. Yeah.
Right. So anyway, so even if there's only like one of them or a group of them, maybe there's factions, who knows, right? Like it's got to be complicated. It's got to be as complicated as complicated as world politics are. Like galactic politics have to be
times 10, times 100, times a million.
Yeah, like
whatever.
We're talking exponential scales here, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, like even if there's negative elements as far as the effects we feel, that doesn't necessarily like equate to the other being evil, right?
Exactly.
Like the other could just be self-serving, and in their self-serving, they just don't kind of care
because
of the repercussions that humans have to face for their actions.
Exactly. And especially if they see themselves above. We see that here on Earth. We see ourselves as above everything else on Earth.
Right.
So what do? We subjugate. We put them in cages. We that's exactly what happens in nature. Right. So to assume that because these advanced beings are visiting us that they're just going to be benevolent because they have this technology is irresponsible.
They have to be
it's irresponsible.
They have to be,
whether they are or not.
Right. Like I think logic dictates to a certain degree that they have to be at least somewhat over the conquest mindset.
Sure. Yeah, I can agree with that.
Otherwise, you
wouldn't get to the point.
The mutually assured destruction that we have with nuclear weapons here on Earth, and now take this sort of like universe or at least galactic traveling technology, like the military implications of that technology are so severe that these entities at least have to be somewhat beyond
whether it
that
means
violent streak. Otherwise, like, how is there any life in the freaking galaxy at all? Unless it actually is all out war and we're in the middle of fucking Star Wars and we're a brand new planet that the Empire discovered.
I will say that maybe the path to being beyond that mindset is to hit the button and pull and push the button for the nukes.
I mean, that's
because imagine like you get to a point where we're not talking about total human annihilation. We're talking about all the cities and these mega structures being
wiped out. Putting us back in the Stone Age.
Unless you already got to the point where you're putting things out into the universe.
Right.
So you get to the point where you're on a Mars mission 20, 30 years from now or 50 years from now.
Mutually assured destruction
is only as
in
powerful.
Nuclear war breaks down once we become multiplanetary.
Exactly.
Right. Like imagine humans are engulfing like we have expanded our civilization. Like to say no aliens exist, right? Like say like have you ever seen like Amazon's The Expanse? Like it's in like a sci-fi future where like it's like way in the future and humans are in space and we're mining the asteroid belt and there's like we've colonized multiple planets and the asteroid belt and there's like and we've even started to evolve into different niches, right? Yeah. But it's all like from the root humanity, right? Like once we're multiplanetary in that sense, like all of a sudden the mutually assured destruction of atom bombs goes away, and now you can nuke the Earth because we're on Mars, bro.
We don't care anymore,
right?
We're gone. Yeah. So we can be self-sufficient.
That does sort of break down that. In like you know, and so if you're multiplanetary, like if you're one of these ETs and you're multiplanetary. And even if Earth has a possibility of like wiping out one of your planets, they don't know where they all are. You gotta like keep some of your planetary or habitations in the back pocket.
Like what I'm thinking is like you like yes, I think they may have like some aspect of being beyond mutually assured destruction and like having to like colonize and all these things. But that is a product of actually being the explorer, not the source of your DNA and where you came from. Yeah. Because where you came from was probably had competition because it's the only thing that makes sense as far as like creating more. Right. There has to be competition. There has to be like strife. There has to be like actual issues going on where it is that you developed that technology to get you to where you're going.
Yeah. Have we talked about or have you heard of the whole like dark forest hypothesis? I'm pretty sure we talked about it at some point in the past. So. It's related to like 3-body problem series. Yeah. So in the book series, they talk about this dark forest hypothesis, which is essentially that once you are a certain level of advancement, what is the wisdom of putting out messages to let people know that you exist, right? This is one of the solutions to the Fermi paradox that they're proposing, is that the reason we're not seeing all of this signals is
they're
because
actively being blocked.
They're actively being quiet.
Same thing, yeah.
Right? Like they're like everyone's like, we don't want anyone to know we're here. Like the metaphor is like you're tiptoeing around in a dark forest, right? And there's other hunters around. And you don't know if an animal or a hunter or anything is going to get you. But you know, like the instant you spot someone, if you don't fire on them and they spot you, they're going to fire on you. Yeah. Well, maybe they won't, but like, are you willing to take the chance that they won't? Because if you don't fire when you have the chance, then as soon as they notice you, they'll fire on you. So the smartest move is to fire first. Right. And be quiet and not let anyone know you're there. That's the philosophy, right? And so taking that into a galactic scale is you do not send out messages broadcasting the presence of your species. Because if you do, someone else cannot trust the fact that you will be friendly. Right. Because by the time they send you a message back trying to be friendly, you could already have a planet-killing blow on the way to them. Yeah. Right? And so the smartest thing to do is to destroy them before they even have a chance to like find out if they're friendly or not, because you can't risk it. That's the dark forest hypothesis. But in the same way we just talked about, that kind of breaks down once you're multiplanetary too. Yeah. If you're multiplanetary or especially multi-stellar, like if you're at least on 2 star systems, all of a sudden
it's not so dangerous.
It's not as crazy anyway, because if they wipe out one, they've given their location, you can then wipe them out in return, right? Yep. So anyway, it's interesting.
Yeah. That is fascinating. Like a problem to work out in your head, you know? Yeah, yeah. Which is no real solution, but...
Well, and then the whole thing breaks down if faster than light travel is possible, right? Because communication can only happen at the speed of light through electromagnetic waves.
Right. So like,
But if you have faster
depending
than
on the
light
distance,
travel, you might as well just go there and check what they're like before you know,
make a decision. Yeah.
which could also be the reason why we don't see a bunch of chatters, because it's a lot faster to just send a messenger than it is to broadcast.
And it's also interesting too. Like we've been broadcasting before we started broadcasting before we had nukes.
Right.
So once we started broadcasting, maybe it was like, okay, let's go check them out. Oh, they're fairly harmless. Let's investigate. We dropped some nukes, and they started investigating even further. Like, okay, how dangerous are these nukes? Like, how much power do they really have at the palm of their hands? Are they dangerous? If they've got faster than light travel down, they're not so worried about the time scale of it, because they
Right.
could probably move backwards in time. We don't know.
Right. At the instant we show ourselves to become hostile, they can wipe us out then.
Yeah.
They can, they can
Exactly.
afford to wait because they have faster than light travel.
Yeah. So they could probably maybe even have time travel, like where they're moving in and out of time,
Right.
and they could see our
faster
forward
than light
progress,
travel,
and maybe
we've talked
they
about
can
this
guide
before.
us off of that path.
Right.
And maybe that's where all these accounts of them like saying, "Hey, protect nature, stop." This nuclear stuff is ridiculous. Stop doing that stuff. Even go and like show their how much more intelligent and technological they are by interfering with our
Right.
nuclear systems,
Right.
and being like, hey, like this shit ain't gonna fly in the galaxy. If you guys want to have contact, stop this shit.
Yeah. There's a couple roads you can go down here, and if you go down this violent path, y'all don't
You're on
have
your
much,
own. You ain't gonna be.
you don't have
We're
much-
gonna let you wipe yourselves out.
or we'll fucking put you down.
Yeah.
If you become a threat to us, right? Like,
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's a whole bunch of ways that could go.
Super interesting.
What else we got?
All right. I got some more stuff. I got, check this out. Jimmy Corsetti just posted this. He has done a trip to Gobekli Tepe, and
They
he
took out the
was able to
trees.
witness the last stage of the removal of 1,000
fucking
trees.
way, dude. I wonder how they got that accomplished. Just people saying, "Hey, this is bullshit."
Well,
science
he's been
you're
making
telling
a
me."
big
I know,
ruckus.
I know.
And
Him and other people. There's a lot of even
Yeah.
Graham Hancock. Like a lot of these people are like making a big fuss about these trees that had been planted that we talked about on our previous podcast on this.
yeah,
About the trees being planted above the ruins of Gobekli Tepe.
check that out.
And luckily they were new enough.
we
where
did a
their
whole
roots
episode.
didn't go
We
deep.
got kind of mad talking about it.
Yeah, it's absolutely horseshit.
Yeah. So
You're
there
gonna
it
plant
is.
trees above this
The
thing?
olive trees are gone.
Let's go.
How about that?
What are the odds?
I think that's a beautiful thing that happened.
Hell yeah. Good job, Jimmy, and everybody else who made that happen. Because
Yes, everyone
now-
who's been on board.
now we just
making a
need
stink
more
about it.
excavation done.
Yeah,
That's what we need next.
yeah. And,
We need to, we need to
whatever pace
sacrifice
that
one of
goes-
these sites
right.
for the science.
Yeah,
Why not? There's actually multiple of these
there's
sites.
so many of these tepes they're finding. Yeah.
Why are we not just excavating fully one of them so that we can discover what the other ones may have to offer? And then do LiDAR scans of those. Mm-hmm. And then we can get some actual answers here.
Well, this is a great step. At least if
Hell
the
yeah.
active destruction by tree roots is put on pause,
Yep.
I'm a little more patient about how long the excavation takes.
Yep.
But those trees, like that shit was crazy.
That was just going to destroy everything.
Yeah, like this is our human heritage, man.
We got to understand this stuff, man. We got to at least put some effort into it.
Totally.
Man.
All right. So we could go into this now, but we just did another half hour. So I say we take a break real
Okay.
quick, and then we'll probably like end out the show with this Thomas Campbell stuff, because I think, that'll leave us another 45 or so.
Sounds good to me.
All right, cool. So we'll be back in a bit. This is going to be TJ McNulty, and the song is called Not Talkin'. And I think I've introduced this before, but he does the intro. Just envision in your mind his vision. Like if a music video was made for the song, he's got like a janitor like sweeping a floor, and then like this thing, this play, this imagination thing starts going on in his mind as he's whistling, sweeping the floors.
And that's when the song starts,
and
right?
blooms into the song. So check this out. Enjoy.
had to constitute my attributes, nor do I see past what I see. I'm a firm believer in believing, but to believe in you, I must first believe in me. So tell me your reasons for not telling me, and I'll tell you how not to be. Will you be the reasons and I'll be the relief? Let's talk about how not talking is killing me. Well, always I have been a patron of the truth. One time is one too many to be misused. And you give me the smile that I was oh so used to. I won't have the courage to give what I deserve to you. So tell me your reasons for not telling me, and I'll tell you how not to be. Will you be the reason and I'll be the relief? Let's talk about how not talking is killing me. Whenever I had a feeling to constitute my attributes, well, normally I just see past what I see. And to be a believer, you must first believe. And I wanna believe in us, but I don't believe in me. So tell me your reasons for not telling me, and I'll tell you how not to be. How not to be. Will you be the reasons and I'll be the relief? Let's talk about how not talking is killing me. Will you be the reasons and I'll be the relief? Have I told you how not talking is killing me?
Welcome back.
All right.
Man, that's a beautiful and like sad song.
Yeah. I think John had hit me up a long time ago about doing some trumpet on a song. That might have been the song he was referring to.
Could have been, yeah, could have been, honestly.
Because I heard that trumpet in there.
Because we didn't really like know who to call for that type of stuff at that early time. Because TJ was one of our first paying clients, and yeah, he may have hit you up for that. There's a line in that song that like has always stuck out to me, and like I don't know if you caught it. There was one point where he was like something like I don't have the courage to give you what to give what I deserve to you, which is such an interesting like choice of words. Like right, like he's saying like it's not about like you giving me what I deserve. It's about like I need to give you what I deserve to give to you. Like imagine like a relationship where like you're trying to give to someone and you can't, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
because you don't feel like you deserve them, so you don't give them everything that you deserve is a way of saying like you're not giving your all. You're not giving all that you can be to the relationship.
I'm also hearing it as like you're not letting me give you, and like I feel this need to give to you that I'm unable to give to you what I'd like feel that I need to give to you.
Yeah. That's why he said the courage to give you all that I deserve.
No, he said the courage to give all that I deserve to you.
Yeah. Yes, I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the courage part is like being able to like confront Or
yeah, cool. Because he's talking about him believing in himself,
Yeah.
right? So the courage to give what he deserves to you. So he is the one stopping himself from
Exactly.
being able to give what he should, what
Yeah.
he like needs to give, what he like feels like in his heart.
he
like,
feels strongly about what he's feeling.
Yeah.
But he has he's lacking the courage to give
yeah,
what he feels he deserves, but that's the same thing. In all honesty.
exactly. It's like what I deserve to give to you is like saying like I need this, like I need to give something, right? Like, and I'm not even brave enough to give what I know I need to give to you. Like I
Yeah.
don't have that courage.
But that speaks to the amount of love, right? It speaks to the amount of
Yeah.
love that are in like feeling behind it.
Well, it's he's not lacking in the love towards someone else. He's lacking in the belief in himself to be able to give that love.
And it's more of like opening up. Like you can say you love somebody, but if you're not acting and showing up in the way that you are expressing verbally,
Yeah.
it's different. Like if you're just verbally saying the words, it's not the same as like showing up in the ways that you know that you can show up for the person that you're talking about.
Yeah.
But you know the amount of love you feel, you deserve to be able to give everything you want to give,
Right.
because it's going to express fully your amount of love to the person.
Yeah. Well, I just think it's powerful that he's not wording it as like what I'm going to receive, right?
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
like
for sure.
I feel like our culture is always like framing relationships and like the downfalls in them in that like that person's not giving you what you need, but like to frame it in such a way that my shortcomings are stopping me from giving to you what
Yep.
I need to give to you is a powerful way of putting it, because I feel like in truth, like the real joy, like the real like benefit, like is like in the giving, not in the receiving. Like the receiving is great, but
Sure.
like it's really like in the giving that
Yep.
that the pure
That's where
joy comes from. Right?
That's where your joy in a relationship comes from, because you cannot control how the other person feels, but you can control how much you give.
yeah,
And like the same way that like a lot of like, I don't know who, like maybe therapists or whatever, like frame like these relationships, like you're talking about the societal kind of norms, a way of describing relationships is like
This
how much do you
transactional
give?
way, right?
Yeah, like how much
like
do
you're
you,
giving this, how much do you receive? Right?
Exactly. Like
Yeah.
you're giving this much amount of energy and how much you receive. Like it's not your partner's role to for you to receive from them all that you need to be a whole person.
right.
It is your responsibility to give all you can in all relationships in order to maximize like your release of love.
Right. It's
Because-
not about receiving what you feel you deserve,
Yeah.
like that you need to be a whole person, but it is about giving what you feel that you need to be a whole person.
Yep.
Because
If you are pent up with all these things, like, and that's where like the anxiety of it all right, comes from. Like having anxiety is like it's like bottling up emotions and stewing on it and then putting them on a shelf and staring at them for hours.
Yeah.
It's all of your emotions that you wish you could release, but instead you're just sitting there staring at them and nothing is being released.
Yeah. It's just like in any other pop song, you would expect the lyric to be to receive what I deserve.
Yeah.
Right. But TJ has such a beautiful way with like flipping a lyric to make it so much more impactful to say to give what I deserve.
Yeah.
I think
agree.
that's beautiful.
That is a good line.
Yeah.
Damn, TJ, you're taking up half our... I'm just kidding.
Thanks, bro.
Love you, bro. All right. Thomas Campbell.
Yeah. So I found this. This is a thread on Twitter, right?
Okay.
So it's going to be a whole series of posts, and it's got a bunch of like video clips to go along with it. So I'll read the posts, and then we'll play some of these clips. I like the posts themselves are interesting enough. So like we'll see how much of the clips we play. But anyway, so this is from at no.mind on X. He says, "This is Thomas Campbell former NASA physicist who developed his theory of everything unifying quantum physics and consciousness. His model explains out-of-body experiences, remote viewing, and dreams. These 13 insights will shift how you see reality forever. Excuse me. Number 1, we live in a virtual reality. Think World of Warcraft. Your body is just an avatar, like an elf in the game. The real player is your consciousness existing outside of this virtual world. Your consciousness logs into play and logs out when your avatar, quote, body dies. So that's point number 1. That's like standard simulation theory, right? Mm-hmm. So I don't feel the need to play that clip. But
Yeah.
Number 2, we are all interconnected. You are an individual unit of consciousness. IUOC is the acronym they're going with here. Ewok.
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 Ewok?
Oh.
We'll call them Ewoks. You are an Ewok, an individual unit of consciousness. But you're also part of a larger consciousness system, source, in quotes or in parentheses. Like a single cell in a body, you have your own experience, but you're also contributing to the evolution of the whole organism.
Okay.
I think that's beautiful. Mm-hmm. Here's a little 40-second clip. Let's see what you got to say.
I expected the religious people to be coming down my throat. But no, they see that I have explained God to them. I've explained what God is, what it's doing, and why it's doing it. It's the larger consciousness system.
So God is the largest consciousness system.
It's evolving toward becoming love, lowering its entropy. Yes. And that, we're chips off the old block, right? In the image, of God. Okay, we're virtual machines, part of it in there. And you can go through all these other things, and it just fits like a glove. I expected.
Number 3, you have multiple lives. When you die, your consciousness doesn't. It's immortal. You enter a transition phase. Your memories fade. Your experience is integrated into your Ewok. Then you log in again without memories for a new experience playing a different avatar. Number 4, why do we play? The larger consciousness system wants to evolve. It evolves by reducing entropy. To do that, it splits into individual units of consciousness, you. Each life is a chance to lower entropy by making better choices. As you evolve, the whole system evolves. So this is really interesting, right? Because he's like, it's almost a duality, right? Like, because in traditional physics, the law of entropy is that entropy always increases, right? Yeah. Things are always spreading apart. Like you put a box with like all hot molecules on one side and all cold molecules on the other, and what will happen over time when you connect those two together is that the temperature will spread until it's an even distribution, right? Entropy always increases. Yeah. But he's saying on the consciousness side of things, the goal, like the mission, is to decrease entropy. So instead of adding disorder, which is the physical laws, the conscious laws is about adding order.
Okay. That's the duality right there.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Okay.
I want to see what actually he has to say about this point.
What an information system does is it evolves, becomes greater, evolves by lowering its entropy. Ordering things lowers entropy. Okay? Entropy is a measure of disorder. So all the bits random is the highest entropy that system can have. Order things, that entropy goes down a little bit. Okay, that's how that works. So if you have an aware information system, now this information system is conscious. It's aware, and it knows it has to order bits. That is its path of evolution. If it takes the bits and pulls them apart, now it's back to all random and it's dead. It's not an information system anymore. So it wants to evolve by creating more information. Those bits that are defined to be a particular way, that's information. So it wants to create information. So the purpose of this aware information system is to lower its entropy. It's this one big monolithic consciousness now that has thought of just about everything that it can think of. It's because it's just one thing, and it realizes that in order to grow further, I need to break off pieces of myself and give them independent free will. And now, we hadn't discussed free will up to this time, but our little unit that I started with, that simple thing that was binary, had to have free will. It had to be able to choose between a or a B, or a 1 or a 0. So free will was that it could freely choose which one to bring up. So anyway, so it realizes that it has to do this. Well, our cells, basically did the same kind of thing. They had to split, and each one was an independent cell that now had to cooperate. So it said, I need to split. So it did. It created a bunch of virtual machines. That's what we are. We're one of those virtual machines.
Interesting. Yeah, that idea of like the splitting just being cascading down and down and down until other systems are formed.
Yeah.
And we are a virtual construct in order to experience the material.
Yeah.
And then in order to lower entropy, consciousness is in, and that also kind of makes me think that panpsychism is part of this too. Like the idea that everything is conscious in its own way.
Interesting.
And that the coagulation of these systems, of these consciousnesses, is what creates this ability to experience in many different ways, possibly, what it is reality is in order to lower entropy more. So maybe we are just one system within this game. So humans might not be the only way. This type of life might not be the only way to lower entropy.
That's interesting. I had a thought while he was talking, kind of on a similar note to the last thought I had, where consciousness is lowering entropy and the physical world is increasing entropy. Mm-hmm. And then during this last piece, it came together into a yin yang for me, right? Where if consciousness is trying to lower entropy and physical world is trying to increase it, then to incarnate from consciousness into the physical world, the physical world in and of itself is tending towards chaos, right? And so you're going into that space in an attempt to put yourself in that chaos and
organize it.
Make organizations, right? And what is the human body? What is the human brain? What is the synapses? What are the experiences that we're building throughout a lifetime, if not putting together some sort of order out of chaos, which is the story we tell ourselves of our life in our head, right? We are bringing some sort of reduction of entropy within at least our own body out of the increase of entropy all around us. And so in that sort of way, these two sides sort of feed off each other as a whole. So you get the duality, but you get the
at the same time that's happening,
unity of it.
You have at the same time as having the order trying to restore balance within the chaos of this duality. You have the chaos trying to disorder the structure of everything.
Right, and bringing novel and new experiences to the structure of this ordered realm.
Yeah, and that's where that idea that I was pulling the thread on of the panpsychism things, like that could be the disorder too. Like you have like all of these like
you can call it the God and the devil or whatever, but like, yeah.
And these are non-physical like actions that are happening within the physical structure.
Right.
To cause the chaos of the order.
So like the physical world is trying to tear apart and randomize the spirit world, and the spirit world is trying to organize the physical world.
Yeah. To lower entropy while, yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
That's an interesting way to look at it. Cool.
Yeah. All right.
What's the next one?
Next one. Number 5. All choices boil down to fear versus love. You reduce entropy by becoming fearless and acting from love, not fear. High entropy equals fear, ego, belief, self-centered intent. Low entropy equals love, cooperation, other-centered intent. Your consciousness evolves by moving from fear to love.
Yeah.
I can see this, but also at the same time, like I see like a little bit of red flags going off for like toxic positivity. Like this mindset seems to be the type that is like only peace and love are allowed. Like darkness is bad, you better get rid of it. And that's that same sort of like fighting against the holistic that
Sure.
I think like Christianity can be guilty of.
I agree with that interpretation to a sense, like, but the idea of like love, cooperation, other-centered intent, like it's like going into a fearful, like if you were to think about like putting this into practice, what you're doing by creating this low entropy is you're going out of your shell to just sow love and cooperation and other-centered. You're going out of your shell. You're going outside of yourself to put your intent not on yourself and to put intent onto others and other situations and not just focus on yourself. So that in itself is a fearless act. So it's still like acknowledging the fear, but it's fighting against it in an intentional way.
It's acknowledging it, but it's not validating it.
Maybe not validating it I could see how the straight up interpretation, but going into practice, like
But
putting any of these things into practice is different from reading the words on a page.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like
totally.
The words are in order to like, in my view, like to harness the action. But the action is much different than motivate the action. Yeah. Exactly. That's the word I was looking for. Is to motivate the action, but the action itself is much more complex than the words to motivate the action.
That's so real. Yeah. Good shit. All right. Number 6. Our reality is based on probabilities. Quantum physics proves it with the double slit experiment. Reality exists as a probability wave until observed or measured. Action collapses the probability into experience. The truest maxim in business and life, action creates information.
So that kind of like talks about that point too. Like the actual action of doing the thing creates the wildest amount of possibilities where you can actually fully like, and that's the splitting that they were talking about in the beginning. That taking the action is splitting the possibilities in so many different categories that it's furthering the possibility for lowering the entropy.
Yeah.
Because you're creating the circumstances in which multiple actions can be taken. And maybe if the multiverse is real, you are creating other universes and other potentials of yourself taking other actions.
I got this image in my head during this part of the talk where like, and I'm not even a surfer, so I don't know why this analogy came to me. I've been watching a couple surf videos recently, so that's probably why.
Yeah.
But like, imagine yourself like you're out on the chaotic waves of the ocean and you're waiting for these like perfect moments where like the right wave comes at you. And even when it does, you can take it or you can not. You can like go full bore into it, or you can like hesitate. You can go left or you can go right. You can try and like ride in the tunnel, or you can try and like trick off the fucking ramp of it, right? Like, so like it's that chaos, and it's us like trying to like watch that chaos, look for these moments in it that we're like, ooh, here's our time, here's our opportunity, let's go. And like even still, like there's a multitude of possibilities of the ways it can go
once you put your intention on it. Yeah.
But like when you watch if you just like see like a video of like waves of the ocean, it looks kind of random. But like you watch a surfer on a wave and it looks ordered, it looks purposeful, it looks beautiful.
That's actually a great analogy.
Yeah. So it's that order out of chaos. It's that the wave creates the opportunity for the surfer, right?
Yeah.
And the wave on its own is just this like chaotic, it's still beautiful. It's this chaotic randomness, but like the surfer creates something new out of it. This moment.
Wow. Yeah, that's a good metaphor for it.
Boom, bitches.
Number 7.
Our reality is resource efficient. The system computes only what's needed for conscious experience, nothing more. Like in a video game, only what's in the player's view is rendered. Reality works the same way. When you don't engage, it remains a probability.
And yeah, that's the collapsing of the wave function, this like idea of like the double split experiment and being the observer, and like the world only collapses around you as you view it. Like in the video game, it's just the rendering, you know?
Right.
Only because they want to save energy.
Yeah.
And they don't want to have the entire video game rendered at all times.
Right. But all the possibilities for what could be the next frame of the video game exist until the player makes an input determining what that's going to be.
Yep.
You turn left, it's going to render this. You turn right, it's going to render that.
Yeah, and there's more and more video games now where you can make choices as far as like how you play, like how you interact with the other characters. So like that is another level of it too. Like if you like actual video games we're playing now are starting to more mirror real life. It's
because
it's
there's
art
the interpersonal nature of it.
Yeah, it's art mimicking life.
Totally.
It's you know, the idea of like and people are so into it. Like people get lost in these worlds, like where you can actually make choices and the outcome changes based on your choices.
Dude, I wonder how much of the like video game experience of getting lost people get into. Like
this was like psychedelic.
Well, like out of like some weird subconscious memory that's like, oh yeah, this idea of like diving myself into a world. Like I've done that before, right?
Yeah.
Because we did that for this life, right? So like I want to do that for, you know, like I wonder how,
interesting.
Yeah.
There's got to be now we got to get somebody to study it. People that go on
I want to check this clip because he's with Kurt Jaimungal on this one. I want to see what this says.
Let's say we're just going to, good examples, we fire a cannon. Simple example, because cannon's a very simple machine. It's a tube with a ball in it and gunpowder behind it. You light the gunpowder and it increases the pressure and out goes the ball. Okay, that's simple. Now, if you tried to describe that in detail at even the molecular level, you couldn't do it. It'd be too hard. Or it would take a lot of computer power. So what you do is you describe it with statistics, with probability. And you say, okay, here's a cannon made out of certain kinds of material, you know, constructed a certain way. The barrel isn't really exactly a cylinder. There's lumps and creases in it. And the ball isn't precisely a sphere. It's got things in it too. And the powder doesn't burn particularly whatever. So you have the cannonball. If you fire the cannon 10 times, that ball will not land in exactly the same place. It'll land in a bunch of different places. It'll produce a pattern. That's called the dispersion of the cannon. And you represent that with a probability distribution. Now, in a virtual reality, and you have a war going on with these cannons, somebody fires a cannon, and the rendering engine that renders the virtual reality goes into that dispersion, that probability distribution, randomly picks out something that is probable. That's where it puts possible, and that's where it puts the cannonball, you see? So you don't have, the system doesn't have to model the whole process in detail. It develops probability distributions based on the rule set, and then it can use these probability distributions to create the cannon in the real world. So now we fire a cannon and the system just puts a ball at a particular place.
Okay, so an analogy would be fairly simple. It would be like a video game that has a probability distribution. Like, think of it like that, then just scale it up to your experience.
Exactly. So that's the way it works.
So the cannonball would be then the individual viewer, the experiencer, the moment experienced, the probability.
Right. And so, like, when we go to do something, like, the outcome of that thing we're going to do, like, if you go into the ultimate detail of the physics, there's
so many things that could have led up to
The
it.
deeper down you go to try and predict exactly where that's going to land, the closer you get to trying to predict at the exact moment, the more you realize it's all based on random probabilities.
Yeah. Well, and it's
like it could land within a range.
Yeah.
And we don't have the computation power to map out every tiny little detail
and how
every nook and cranny.
It's like when something happens in your life where you're taken aback and you're just sitting there reflecting on what just happened, and you're reflecting on all the things that led you to this moment.
Yeah,
you cannot pinpoint the one thing that set you to the path you're on now. It's a probability cloud of all the different things that had different motivators and potentials for being the catalyst, but you cannot pinpoint it.
Or if you do, in a lot of cases, that's considered some sort of like mental illness. You know, like where you like are so focused on like one thing caused all your problems, right?
Yeah.
But like the truth is, it's like it's such a fucking random, like complex series of things that it's not just one moment. Of course, it wasn't just one moment. Like or this was a thing that had to happen. Person. This was the trend. This was the probability space that you were putting yourself into.
Yep.
That this situation is going to create itself based on your behavior
and all your choices that you had before then.
Right.
And those choices themselves are nuanced and the things that led to those. And so it's a constant probability wave that you are only a single focal point on it. But there are all these other views too, because if you talk about a certain situation where there's multiple viewpoints of a certain situation, the likelihood of everybody having the same viewpoint is zero, really.
Right.
Basically.
Right.
Nobody's going to have the exact same experience of what just happened there.
Right.
In a certain scenario. So like it's a probability wave cloud moving through physical space, and we are all just nodes picking up certain viewpoints of it at any given moment.
Right. Number 8. You can influence probabilities with your intent. Intent drives outcome. A clear, positive intent makes events more likely. This is why visualizations work and placebo heals. Fear and worry raise the chances of illness. It's not what you do, but why you do it that matters.
Mm-hmm. Man, I feel that so deeply as far as like the fear and worry raising the chance of a certain outcome. Mm-hmm. If you're just constantly focused on it, you know, it's almost like the fortune teller, right? Like the metaphor of the fortune teller telling you, and I'll use Avatar as the Last Airbender as the example when he goes to see the fortune teller and Asaka's going around trying to disprove it. Mm-hmm. And he comes to the guy who's like, and he's like, what makes you so sure? And he's like, well, the fortune teller told me I'd be wearing red shoes when I met the love of my life. And he's like, well,
and how often have you worn those red shoes?
Every day. It's like, well, then, yeah, of course you're going to meet the...
And then the guy's response is like, oh, really?
You think so?
You think so? Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, it's like you're fully intent on the, I mean, and obviously in that case, it's a dumbed down version of this, but Well,
yes
sort
and
of,
no,
sort
yes and
of,
no,
yeah.
because like that guy's intent, he's wearing those red shoes, right? What does that mean? He's committing his intent to finding the love of his life.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
And so, like, do the red shoes matter?
No.
Probably not, right?
But it's his intention of
because
wearing
he
them.
wants that, and because like this prediction is giving him the hope for that. Is the Ouroboros, right? Like the snake eating his tail.
Yeah.
Like the Matrix when she's like, don't worry about the vase, and he's like, what vase? And he turns and he knocks the vase over, and he's like, oh, sorry. And she's like, what's really gonna bake your noodle is would you have knocked it over if I didn't say anything, right? Like that's that causality chain, right? So like, is it like the fact that he wants that, right? Like the guy wearing the red shoes wants that love, right? And then he got validation of that from this fortune teller, gave him a clear path, right? But the clear path doesn't really matter. Like it really doesn't matter whether he's wearing red shoes or not. What matters is that he has something to focus on, and as long as he's focused on that, like his intent is focused.
Yep.
And that's what really matters is the fact that his intent is focused. So is that the self-fulfilling prophecy of it all?
Yeah. Oh, I love this stuff. All right, what's number 9?
Number 9, intellect versus intuition. School trains your intellect for 20 plus years, but how much time have you spent developing your intuition? Most people's intuition is underdeveloped, yet all paranormal skills are based on it. You can train intuition through meditation and focused intent.
All right.
I want to hear this clip that goes with this one.
You have consciousness has 2 different ways of processing information. One is logically, that's the intellectual side, and the other is intuitively. Okay, that's the intuitive side. So you have these 2 pathways. Now in our culture, we work on that intellectual side, that logic side, and we hone that. You know, we start learning things in kindergarten and up, and we learn that, and we hone it. We get good at it. We go to school. We go to graduate school. The intuitive side, science tells you it doesn't even exist. We don't work at it. But if you do work at it, if you put serious energy over a serious amount of time into that intuitive side, you find out that it's just as reliable, just as accurate as the intellectual side, except there's a big difference between them. On the intellectual side, you've got logic, but logic needs data. If you're going to use, deductive logic, you've got to have data to plug in order to see what's logical. Yeah. And most of the time, we don't have the data. The questions and the things we want to know that are really important, like should I marry Sally or should I marry Sue? There's no data that you can put in to come to a logical conclusion. And only the most trivial things do you have enough data. Where are my car keys? Well, where was I last? When did I get out of the car? What jacket was I wearing? What pants was I wearing? To go check the pockets. Then where did I go? And logic can help you out because it's a simple problem. But if it's a not so simple a problem, logic has its limitations because you don't have the data. On the intuitive side, it's totally beyond logic. There is no logic. You just know. It just happens. The information comes to you. It's intuitive.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't like using the word to define it, but yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean it's true. Like it's your intuition can be, and if you in certain situations, like a lot of people will trust their intuition more than their logical brain, especially when it comes to fight or flight.
Yeah, we'll look at soldiers and law enforcement.
Yep.
How many of them, like when you sit down and interview them about their experience, right? Like there's the training and the drilling, right? And that's the logic side, right? That's like building these patterns. But like how many of them talk about, well, the best of us, like it's the reason my life was saved in this instance versus that, it was not because of a decision I made. It wasn't because of some logical analysis I made. It was just a gut. It was just an intuition, right? Yeah. It's really these people that like perform at the highest levels of logic with like split second decision making who understand the most,
Who experience
that
the intuition. Yeah.
is really the difference maker.
Yep. Yeah, because they experience the limitations of logic. They experience the farthest reaches of what logic can achieve.
Right. But to his point, like, we spent all this time dumping into training our logic, but like, what time are we spending into training our intuition?
Yeah, or at least trusting it and relying on it.
Well, yeah, learning.
But just training it.
For each person, like learning its limits, where it's good, where it's bad, like how much I can trust it, like testing it over and over and seeing like what, because it's going to be different for everyone, right? Like, not everyone's going to have the same intuitive abilities, but like how can you know that for yourself unless you
you're not
learn it,
allowing
train
it to make decisions?
Test it. Right.
Yeah, you got to allow your intuition to make decisions that you can fall back on as ways to, like, data points that you can help. Your intuition, in a sense, can turn into your logic too.
This reminds me of our remote viewing episode, right? Where like Joe McMoneagle was talking about how, like, what you're learning to do is to down analyze, not up analyze. Right. Like, that's how you train and like work with your logic, is not by up analyzing, by taking something your intuition throws at you and being like, oh, this is that. Well, this can't be that because blah, 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 blah. Right. Like, instead, what you're doing is you're taking what the intuition gives you and then you're down analyzing. You're saying, okay, I felt this. Is this, or is this? And you're still asking another question to your intuition, right? Like, down analyzing, breaking it into pieces, but allowing the intuition to keep serving at every step of that breakdown.
Yeah, because as soon as you like take your intuition or like a sense or a feeling or whatever, and you analyze it in such a way that you put a definition on it, you're losing the meaning of.
That's the up analyzing. That's the putting a box around it. And as soon as you put that box around it, it can't go outside the box anymore.
Yeah.
And you've decided what it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Number 10, paranormal abilities aren't mystical. They access data from past and probable future databases through intuition and high-quality intent. Remote viewing, precognition, and out-of-body experiences are real. Anyone can develop them by developing their intuition and intent.
Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense.
Yeah. That reminds me of, like, the magic book I'm reading. Like, this is the type of stuff they're, like, training you on, trying to get you to, like, wrap your head around,
like, the reality of these experiences. Yeah.
Well,
and to take them as not something to just dismiss.
Well, and they teach you how to train yourself on this stuff, right? Like, they're teaching you how to be intuitive. They're teaching you these, like, rituals to follow, right? But they're teaching you to follow, like, the vibes, like that intuitive essence that's coming from it. And they're teaching you not to trust it for a long time, but instead to just, like, go through it and document what you feel, document what you think it's telling you, test that against what the real world shows you after the fact, but don't fucking rely on it for life or death choices yet until you've, like, really, like, put it to the test as far as what it can do for you, right?
Yeah, I mean, and by putting it to the test, you're just, like, allowing yourself to make decisions based on your intuition instead of the logic of it, and seeing what the outcome is and seeing, allowing it to fully unfold.
Right.
So that you can see, sure, it may be logically negative if you were to think about it that way, but, my intuition is, if you start to trust it and you, like, get to a point where you're, like, relying on it heavily, you realize that bad decision in the long term was a good decision.
Right.
Because your logical brain couldn't see the outcome that the intuition could.
Right.
Yeah.
Or the short-term outcome versus the long-term outcome. Right. Number 11, what about dreams? Dreams are just another virtual reality within the larger consciousness system. different rule set, different laws of physics. That's why you can fly or teleport, but it's still a learning environment. Dreams help you grow and evolve too.
In the physical world.
So like it's a virtual machine inside the virtual machine where like you're resting for a bit, you boot up a virtual console and you just fuck around and play.
It's like,
but like it's a way to grow too.
It's like I'm imagining like in a video game when you get to like the ability tree where you can like pick different abilities and like focus on certain aspects of what it is that's possible for you.
Yeah.
And you're like building yourself up in different ways.
Yeah.
That's how I imagine dreams. As an ability tree.
Yeah. Dude, I suck at flying in my dreams. It's always like, and then I start falling. Anytime I try and fly, it starts turning into falling. And then it like turns into like pulling up. Like I'm good at pulling up from falling.
And then coasting again for a bit.
But then I start falling again. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much all of my flying experiences and dreams have been like there's always some sort of falling involved.
Yeah.
But I've caught myself too, like you're saying, like
what is flying but falling in style?
Yeah. I mean, you're eventually falling.
Right.
It's all a fall.
Number 12, what's the meaning of life? Your purpose in this virtual reality is to reduce entropy. Every life is a chance to grow, reduce fear, and make better choices. Entropy never reaches zero, so you must keep evolving, helping others and moving from fear and ego to love and service.
Yeah.
And that's cool for sure. Oh, there's another one. I mean, that's cool for sure, but like, that's the one side of the yin yang. Like, that's the one side. Like, I think the truth is we have to embrace both sides. We have to embrace the chaos. We have to embrace the entropy because that's what paves new paths for us to be able to be conscious and create order out of. Like, if all you do is create order, eventually everything's all zeros, and that's boring as fuck, right? You need to introduce some new randomness into that, and then create some new order, and then introduce some new randomness and create some new order. That circle.
Well, if you go
really
back up,
matters.
Go back up to that one. He says, every life is a chance, or it says, entropy never reaches zero.
Right.
So you must keep evolving, helping others, and moving from fear to in ego to love and service. Like it's an acceptance in a sense of the fact that it's a cycle.
Yeah.
You're never going to reach zero, but that doesn't take away from the fact that the goal is to reduce entropy. Which in a sense,
but that's still only one side of the equation.
No, but what it is, what I'm interpreting it as reducing entropy is reducing the friction. It's not reducing. It's not saying that the cycle doesn't happen.
Well, it's removing the randomness and introducing order.
No, but sure. If you say take the exact definition of entropy, but if you're talking about a cycle where it's like reducing entropy is actually helping to continue the entropy. If you accept that it's a cycle, it's really reducing the entropy. That's just the word we're using, is reducing the friction of the system cycling and looping. So, like, by reducing the friction, you're accepting more of the fact that it is a loop and that you are going to continue in the cycle. It's never going to reach zero.
Yeah, but to say something as black and white as your purpose is to reduce entropy.
But that's words to describe it. Like what I was saying
I know,
earlier.
but like that's a definitive statement, right? Like that is saying like we're here to do this, right? But like I don't think we're always here to do that. Sometimes we're here to introduce some chaos.
Mm-hmm.
Some people sometimes are here to introduce some chaos.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe in one lifetime you're going to introduce chaos, and then in another lifetime you're going to introduce order. Like I think both.
Well, there has to be entropy in order to reduce entropy.
Right. Like there has to be death to make room for life. Like,
exactly.
Like saying something as black and white as your purpose is to reduce entropy is like saying that our goal in life is to make sure death never happens. Imagine that world.
Well,
If all we're striving for is to elimination of death, the elimination of decay and destruction.
I see how like macroscopically it sounds, but like individually, if you take like the video game analogy here, like there are forces within the video game that are there to make it harder for you. Mm-hmm. That is part of the design. The reason that it's enjoyable and it's satisfactory to achieve the goals that you're set out to achieve within that video game is because that is a reality. The reducing of it, the reducing entropy, in my view, I get that what it says is like a certain, like it's a statement of a fact, but it's not. It doesn't say in that sentence as well, your purpose is in this virtual reality is to reduce entropy, and there will be never, like entropy is not a thing. It's
but like what if some people feel their purpose is to add a little chaos? Like I feel like there are people whose personality in this world is like, look at all these people with all their rules. I'm going to figure out the best way to like introduce a little chaos. I'm going to throw off their plans.
It's the hackers in the video game.
Well, yeah, but like sometimes it's just the person at the party where like everyone's like, oh yeah, we're planning to do this and this and that, and that person comes out like, yo guys, I got some tequila, let's take some shots. Mm-hmm. Right? Like if that's always every interaction with that person, that's fucking degrading. But like sometimes like everyone's too prim and proper and wants to behave, and you need that person to come in and be like, shots, bitches. Mm-hmm. Like you need someone to introduce that chaos. Like and some people's purpose is the chaos, and some people's purpose is the order. And I feel like it's that beautiful dance of the acceptance of both that really is what matters. And to try and boil it down to only one side of the equation.
So maybe like that's the point, though.
Our job is to be prim and proper and sit at this tea table and lift our finger as we drink this teapot because these are the rules of a ordered society. Well, then someone's like, fuck that bullshit, let's take some drugs.
But isn't that's kind of the point that I'm kind of striving to explain to my, like within my own head too now, like the fact of there being people that like are like fully anti, like just wanting to like be prim and proper and this and that, introducing the chaos can be in a sense a form of reducing the entropy, because if there's people who want just the status quo in order to motivate action within those people, you have to introduce chaos to get them to a point where they can see.
Well, you're talking about like a balance that needs to be served, right? So like this goes back to like our shadow episode, right? Like the shadow self episode. And like there's a difference between like what Jung what he talked about was like, or I guess it was Alan Watts talking about Jung. What he talked about was that if all you do is try to like go towards the positive and deny that the shadow exists, you can do that. But in denying the shadow altogether, you're going to go so far into the light that it will degrade into shadow.
Yeah.
And that's that dark spot at the center of the white part of the yin yang.
Yep.
That's that toxic positivity. You try to deny one half of the equation, and in that you will degrade into it.
Yeah.
Right?
And then at the same time, like that is so yes, there is people lowering the entropy, but within that, like that group of them, there are people who are so far outside of like accepting entropy as being real that they are creating the next generation of people fighting against that entropy.
Right.
Like it's just a cycle, and it's just an understanding, like he said there, you know, it's entropy never reaches zero. There's never a point where you're going to reach zero.
Right.
But the point is to strive. And the point is to resist what is going to always decay into
but
entropy.
That's half, right? Like the yin yang is a whole.
But it's the decaying
a half.
into entropy that you fight against.
His message here is only talking about one half of that yin yang. He's saying strive for the good.
Let's go to the next one. Maybe
that's beautiful to strive for the good. But like, he's not saying to balance it with he's not saying to balance the order with the chaos. He's saying strive for the order. Your goal is to strive for the order. At least that's what the person who's tweeting what he's saying. I don't know if that's his actual views because we haven't played all these clips, but
true.
At least the person tweeting this chain.
Yeah, let's go to the next one because he might have more.
Yeah. Number 13, happiness is not a goal. It's a byproduct. Happiness arises from good choices and love-based intent, being caring, cooperative, and helpful. Unhappiness comes from fear, ego, and self-centered intent.
Right, which is still, from what I'm trying to understand from this, is like unhappiness is still an experience to be had.
He's not an unacceptance. I'm not trying to say that it's not there, but he's saying the goal, your purpose is to strive for the light. Like he's not saying the whole, like the best life comes from finding a balance of the light and the dark and integrating both your halves. He's saying the goal, the perfect life is to strive for the good and strive towards peace, strive towards order, and away from fear and away from chaos.
Mm-hmm.
But
I think that
I just think that's the same thing as like a Christian saying, well, you shall do this and this and this, and if you acknowledge, like if anything remotely dark happens in your life, you're gonna fucking be judged. You better live a perfect life. We're striving for perfection.
Yeah, but I think in a individual, the striving for happiness is making good choices and love based and being caring and having cooperative and being helpful and all these things. It's a strive towards. Sure. It's not you're not becoming Jesus and becoming fully enlightened by striving for these things.
Yeah, but it's like trying to always breathe in. Striving to always breathe in. Like every once in a while, you can't strive anymore and you gotta breathe out, but then you're like, fuck, I breathed out. Back to striving in. Like you're gonna fucking die because you can't like breathe properly. Like
I can see how
true
like
health comes from the balance of the in and the out, right? Like,
but it's still a striving. You're still striving though. Because if you're full, like I'm just saying, like his words there. Is the striving for being loving and stuff is the source of happiness
of the lack of success of it, right? Like,
well, yeah, it's you wanting to be happy. If you're striving to be, if you're striving or you're giving into the fear and ego, it doesn't mean you're going to live a happy life just because like you fully feel like that's your intention of this world, like to be the chaos and everything. It doesn't mean you're going to live a happy life just because you think that's your goal.
Yeah.
That is still valid when it comes to like happiness and stuff. Like if you striving against those decisions, those choices put in front of you, then the choice you could make to do harm, instead you choose to help. Where do you think, like, as far as like eventually the point where striving against those bad choices?
I'm just saying that at the point of like where all you're trying to do is be perfect, be good, be order.
I don't think that's the point of it, though.
No, I know, but he's saying you're striving for that. Like he's not. Nothing in this entire chain has been like embrace that you have a dark side, embrace that you're imperfect, embrace the fact that like you need some chaos in order to be sane. Like there's nothing through this entire chain that was like hinting towards that part of life. It's only saying go towards this, go towards the light, go towards the light.
I see what you're saying. Right? I see what you're saying.
And I feel like that is on the road towards the toxic positivity. It is acknowledging that the other thing exists, but it's telling you in acknowledging that it exists that you need to run from it. You need to go towards this. If Like, to the extent you are a conscious, loving being is to the extent that you are running away from the chaos and towards the light. But I feel like in like living in like not living in fear, by trying to be out of fear and into order and peace, and being so intent on not being in fear, you're being in fear of being in fear, and then it becomes a performative contradiction that leads you back into that. Sure. And that's where that like that toxic positivity comes in.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the extremes, right? Like if you look at the full extremes of the toxic positivity, but there's the extremes of like completely toxic negativity.
Right.
Obviously. Yeah. Right? And there are still glimmers of light within that toxic negativity that could bring you back. Like it's the understanding that like it's not. And I get that these are words, and who knows who's actually saying these words, whether it's him or it's just their interpretation of what it is.
Person on X, right?
But I think it is a balance, and we understand. Like we've been talking about this before, but like, and I don't know that he's even preaching this when he's talking about his ideas.
Sure.
But the idea that the striving for the striving for love and caring and cooperativeness and all these things doesn't have to be an outright denial of our fear and ego and things.
Well, I think
there is a balance, and there is the silver lining in between those two halves.
Yeah. Well, I think the only way to have true holistic love is to love the positive and the negative. Right? Like how can you say you love someone if like you only appreciate about them what you've always liked, and when they do something that annoys you, like how can you say you truly love someone when like their little things that annoy you don't give you a little bit of joy? Like, this fucking guy is always annoying me this way, but you gotta love him.
I see what you're saying.
You have to like take both sides. Or otherwise it's not real. Like, is it real love if it doesn't acknowledge the good and the bad?
Well, and being caring too. Like, if you're being caring and you're being loving, you are doing those things. You're accepting somebody's negative, like the negative parts of somebody.
Like, imagine only showing love to your children when they do things you want them to do.
Yeah.
And then always withholding love when they do something that like you didn't.
Which people do.
Yeah. But like, can you imagine living that? Like, is that like holistic love? Like, I feel like that's toxic love.
But that's where the balance is, right? Yeah. Like, I get that. Like, but it's
like the positive.
It's less about
the
like
positive spin
the
on
stuff somebody does negative. Yeah. It's more about the fear, the ego, and the self-centered intent.
Yeah.
If your kid grows up to be a self-centered, egotistical, maniacal person, you understand that yes, you love them as a kid because as much as they did that annoyed you, you're never gonna not love them for just annoying you because they're a kid. But if they grow up to be some egotistical, like fear-mongering person that all they do is mal to the world, that changes your understanding of and your love for that person.
Right.
So there's a balance there too. Like it's everybody can grow in separate ways, and like we all have, different intentions on other people.
Anyway, I wanted to share this because I thought the entire like simulation and like metaphor of this all was really beautiful. But as I was like taking it in, I was like, ooh, we got to have this conversation about how like this thing is super beautiful, but this thing is surface level beautiful because I don't think it's complex enough to like take in the complexities of the light and the dark and the integrating the wholeness of.
I agree. I want to hear his full talks and like all the different podcasts, because I don't know that this person No Mind is doing it justice.
We've played a clip from Joe Rogan. We've played a clip from the Theories of Everything. So I'll look up the source episodes and link them. I haven't listened to either of those episodes.
I haven't heard him at all before this, so I would like to.
But anyway, there's at least a couple good sources to check out. So I'm interested in like what he actually has to say. But
yeah, me too.
I thought this thread was like I knew this was going to be a conversation piece for us. So
yeah, it did its job there for sure. Yeah.
It's cool stuff, though, huh?
Hell yeah. I love simulation theory, and I love all the... I really am going to listen to him. I'm probably going to listen to him all day tomorrow.
Well, I just love, I like the simulation theory, which is really just a metaphor for spirituality that is couched in a way that, atheists appreciate. But...
Yeah. I just realized we didn't do our tarot this week, but...
we didn't do tarot or...
Marcus Aurelius.
Yeah.
That's all right. We'll jump back into more of that next week.
Yeah.
But appreciate y'all hanging out with us this week. Episode 64. We took a week off. I'm sure that was before 63 would have been the week off.
Well,
between 62 and 64.
Yeah, 63 should have been a week earlier.
Yeah. So now we're a week later with this as well. Yeah. Anyway, appreciate y'all hanging out. If you guys want to follow along and get engaged in the conversation, you guys can follow us on Instagram or Facebook, or check out our website at dualitycheck.net. You can hit us up at host@dualitycheck.net. That's our email address. And, shoot us an email. Let us know what you think about these topics today. And if you guys wanted any of the videos and all these clips that we put in here, go to YouTube or Rumble. If you guys could like and subscribe and, share, that would help us out a lot. And you can find us on anywhere you get your podcasts if you're just looking to listen. And, appreciate y'all hanging out.
We'll see you guys next week for another one.
All right. Later.
Adios.